Chair recognizes that the Lenore County Board of Education has established a quorum and calls the December 11th, 2023 regular monthly meeting to order. Chair recognizes Mr. Nick Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It really sounds great to hear and all these young people out here, they're saying the Pledge of Allegiance. It really sounds good. Thank you. Now, before we move to the election of board officers, for those who are unaware, Board Member Keith King submitted his resignation to the Lenore County Board of Education effective December 5th, 2023. Mr. King has been appointed to the seat vacated by Commissioner Chad Rouse on the Lenore County Board of Commissioners. Chair recognizes Mrs. Melissa Michaud to explain Board Policy 2200, Election of Officers, Organization of Board.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Michaud. I'm here for Carolyn tonight. As you know, each December, board policy says the board will hold an organizational meeting to elect first chair and then vice chair. I believe your practice is, and so first, Mr. Williams will open and ask for nominations for chair. Someone can identify who they want to nominate. He'll repeat, are there any other nominations for chair? If there are not, there can be a closure of nominations, and then, but if there are multiple nominations, he'll make sure there's no other interest in chair. Then once nominations are closed, if there's only one nominee for chair, you'll vote by show of hands, whether there's support in favor of that nomination. And then my understanding is that your practice when there is more than, if there is more than one nomination for chair, is to vote by use of written ballots, and I think those are available. So I want to make sure that there's understanding about the process, or if there are any questions about that process. And just to repeat too, with the if there is more than one nominee, you keep voting until someone has 4 votes in a round.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Michaud. Chair recognizes Mr. Brent Williams to preside during the election process of the board chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the chair and the attorney both noted, it is a yearly practice for this board and all school boards to yearly nominate and seat a board chair and a vice chair. And this first meeting in December, we are using for that purpose, and that's our mission tonight at this time. So at this time, I will open the floor for any nominations for chair for the Lenore County Board of Education for the next year.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
I nominate Bruce Hill, chair.
Okay. We have one nomination, Mr. Bruce Hill for chair. Do I hear any other nominations? Okay. We'll close the nominations, and as the attorney noted, our practice is to use basically our standard monthly practice, a regular show of hands. So at this time, Mr. Bruce Hill has been nominated. Do I hear a second? Oh, you don't need a second for this?
You don't need a second.
Okay, all right. Mr. Bruce Hill has been nominated for chair. At this time, we'll call for a hand vote. Those in favor of Mr. Hill being chair, raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay. Let me make sure I got that right. That was 4 or Was it
one opposed.
one opposed? Okay, so 5. All right, congratulations, Mr. Hill. You are elected chair by this board for the new year. And at this time, I will turn it over to you to preside over the remainder of the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Williams, and I would like to thank the board for allowing me the opportunity to serve as board chair.
Not the whole board.
Okay, chair opens the floor for nominations for vice chair. Okay, we have a nomination, Mr. Walter Anderson. Are there any additional nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, chair will close the floor for nominations for vice chair. All in favor of Walter Anderson serving as vice chair, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Mr. Anderson will serve as vice chair. Congratulations, Mr. Anderson. Chair recognizes Mr. Brent Williams to present the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, it is my honor and privilege to present to you, the members of the board, for your consideration and hopefully your approval, tonight's agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there a recommendation or a motion pertaining to the agenda?
Move to approve.
We got a motion by Mr. Anderson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Woods. We have a motion by Mr. Anderson and a second by Mr. Woods to approve the board agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0. The agenda is set for tonight's meeting. At this time, it is practice to recognize our elected officials, and I believe the only elected official that I saw on the audit side is Mr. Preston Harris. County Commissioner, would like to welcome you. Thank you for being with us.
Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Aren't we all? And I'd like to take this opportunity to not only to welcome you and thank you for being here, but we'd like to thank the County Commissioner for all that y'all do for the school system in Lenore County.
Thank you very much.
And I also would like to acknowledge that Ms. Carolyn Murchison is not with us tonight, and that Mrs. Melissa Michaud is going to be our attorney. I do have a couple of comments I would like to make. We want to continue to thank all Lenore County Public School employees for their outstanding dedication, commitment, and hard work to ensure all Lenore County Public School students are successful as possible. We want to continue to commit to providing for a safe and healthy environment for all students, employees, and our community. As mentioned before, Board Member Keith King submitted his resignation to the Lenore County Board of Education effective December 5th, 2023. We want to thank Mr. King for his years of service to Lenore County Board of Education. We appreciate his dedication in putting students first and helping make all students of the Lenore County Public School System to be as successful as possible. We wish Mr. King success in his endeavor to continue serving Lenore County on the Lenore County Board of Commissioners. We also hope everyone has a happy and safe holiday and would like to wish everyone Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And as always, Mr. Williams will share more good news about Lenore County Public Schools and staff. Chair recognizes Mr. Williams to present the following honors, recognitions, and accomplishments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before that, I would like to say that that I'm very proud of our school system, particularly our students, our teachers, our other staff members, and our parents for all that they're doing to close out the first semester so successfully. It seems like we're having so many wonderful school events. I went to 4 different school system evening events last week, and every single one of them was outstanding. Our kids, the Christmas programs, the performances, the concerts, our kids are really doing well. And we're so proud of them. They're doing it well. Our main mission is an academic one that's in the classroom, teaching and learning. Our teachers are doing an outstanding job with that. And parents, we know who helps them at night in that conversation. We all have children, and we know it takes all of us, not just the teacher in the classroom. That's a very important part, but also the parents, working with them at night and helping them and encouraging them and all that you do to support them and this school system. We never take for granted that you share with us, your children, and that you have choices about education and that you choose LCPS, and we're very thankful for them, and we're very thankful for you for making that choice. And we never take that for granted. We want to treat them like our own every day and love them and take care of them and help them to grow and thrive. And tonight you see some great examples of that. As the chair noted, we are coming up on the Christmas holidays, just a few days until the 20th and dismissal. But I want to say that between now and then, for our high schools, we're closing out an entire year and we're starting up another one, not just a calendar year, but the first semester, starting the second semester, new classes and all that comes with that. So to our high school students, good luck on exams, and teacher-made exams are starting, I think some of them tomorrow. And we're going through and then closing out with the OC. So thank you to our kids, and good luck to them for all that they're doing to close out this semester. And we look forward to 2024. We look forward to the second semester and closing out the 23-24 school year. So we're really excited about that. Tonight we have a showcase of student accomplishment. A few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we had the North Carolina School Boards Association. That is this board's annual conference in Greensboro, North Carolina, and as part of that, they have several contests. They have a student video contest. Our students have placed in that several times over the years. They have a student poster contest. Our students placed in that this year and in many previous years. And they have scholarship awards. And last year we had one of our students, Ricky Lane from South Lenore, won the video contest and a scholarship and $3,000 for Ricky and for college. So we were so excited for her, and we're so excited for these kids that were recognized tonight. And what I'll do is ask them to come forward by school. We have Moss Hill Elementary School, Northwest Elementary School, and Southeast Elementary School. So I'll call them by school, and these are our poster contest winners from the North Carolina School Boards Association in Greensboro. And students, that's a long way from here. It's not right next door. It's not Goldsboro, Greenville. It's all the way to Greensboro, and everybody in all 115 school systems around North Carolina saw your work and walked by it in the exhibit hall, and they applauded your work. So you were a pretty big deal in Greensboro. These board members saw that, I saw that, and I was very proud of you then. I'm very proud of you now. So we'll have you come up, and if their principals would come up as well. And when each student is coming forward, students, when you're coming up, come up and stand right up here. When we call all the ones from your school, and it looks like we have a few from each school, we'll take a photograph then, and I'll give each one of you a certificate. But when I want to call your names out individually, when you come up, everybody will applaud for you, and I'll ask your mom and dad to stand up, or your grandparents or guardians or whoever's here with you, and we want to clap for them too, because we know it takes everybody. This is partly your award too, and we want to clap for you. And if your principal or administrator is here, I'll ask them to come up and be in the photograph and help congratulate you as well. Okay? Sound good? We'll begin with Moss Hill Elementary School. Mr. Davin Brown. Davin Brown, come forward. Is Davin here?
Devin.
Devin Brown? Miss Devin Brown. Thank you. Sorry, Devin. Mr. Williams needs to put his glasses on. Here we go. Charlotte Rouse. Shelby Jarman. Eliza Price, Bentley Campbell, Javier Cambridge. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, would you two come up here and just show a couple of examples? I would like for those in attendance to see examples of this artwork here. And I'll show one. So this is Devin's work. Devin, do you want to tell us how you came up with that? That is outstanding, folks. Look at that. Our kids are doing that. Don't want to put you on the spot, Devin, but you want to share with them how you came up with that?
I was just thinking of something, and that's just my opinion.
Just the colors and the highlights of it? Give the topic? Outstanding. Let's give her a round of applause. Charlotte?
17 minutes so we can see.
Charlotte? Outstanding, Charlotte. Be nice to everyone, is her saying. Okay, Shelby? Shelby, to be a good friend, you have to be nice. Shelby, hold that up so everyone can see it. Outstanding. All right, Eliza. All right, friends, helping them through hard and tough times and always being by their side. What a great message, right? Outstanding. All right, Bentley. All right, Bentley. Good friends, play nice and stay safe. Good job. Folks, you see the theme here? These are good lessons for all of us on how to treat other people,
That's
right?
right.
These kids, our future is in good hands. And Javier? All right. Best friends, I love my best friends. My best friend is so pretty. How about Would anyone else from the group like to share anything about how you came up with these or what it means to you or the message that you were trying to say? Because these are outstanding. You don't have to. I just want to do that. Okay? All right. Let's start.
Can we get the three of you to stand up?
I don't think we can hold both. Let's take the picture and then I'll give it to you.
You're not ready yet.
He said, do not be afraid.
Slide over this way. You can stand on the side, so. Squeeze in, squeeze in. Yeah, that's good. Each side, okay. Are you ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. There you go.
Great job, guys. Okay. Then, Charlotte. Shelby. Congratulations to Shelby. Eliza. Congratulations to Bentley. Congratulations, Bentley. All right, one more round of applause.
Good job.
That was a suggestion. Sir, that was a suggestion.
All right, Northwest Elementary School. Lillian Waters, Joe Wilson, Anaya Porter, and Camden Kilpatrick.
Leilani Ward.
How do you say it? Leilani? Leilani?
Camden. Good job, Camden. All right. What makes a good friend? To be trustworthy, to be a good friend, always tell the truth. Loyalty, you need loyalty to be a good friend, and respect. Treating others the way you would like to be treated. And then he has a skit here and the key message here. You want to tell them, Camden, what your key message is to everybody? Kindness is the key. Wouldn't we all do well to live by that? Kindness is the key. How about a round of applause?
Camden. Let's see.
Okay. Joe? All right, let's look at Joe.
Leilani.
Leilani.
He said Joe.
Oh, Joe, okay.
This is yours? Okay. He said Joe. This is the right one. All right. What makes a friend? Share with a friend by giving them a pencil. You don't have one.
There you go.
The pencil is the key, right? Great job, Joe. Give y'all a round of applause. Either of you guys want to share what you were thinking of when you came up with these? All right, we're good. All right, Joe, here you go. Well, let's, can you put this one behind you, we'll fold that, and hold it out. And the same thing's happening to Mr. Holmes, going to come in for the program. Okay. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Bowser, come on in.
These are my babies.
Ms. Bowser said the teachers do the real work. I said, they're in here.
All right. Hopefully, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. There you go.
Great job. Ms. Bowser,
Yes.
you can. Would you say that doing these was a helpful endeavor for the kids? Because we love winning the contest, but was it also learning for them?
Absolutely, it was.
Great. Thank you. Southeast Elementary School, Amaya Jordan, Markel Young, Helen Rubio, and Ibrahim Al-Dubali. Hello.
Little. Sweet babies.
She's got straight.
Okay, so. All right, guys, let's look at this. So, Amita, do you want to tell them about yours, how you came up with it? She's got her 2 characters here, and one character needs something, needs some help, which we all need help on occasion. Let's let them see that. And what does Amita tell, what does this character tell this one? If you need help, what will you do? I will give you some, I will help you. This character, whether it's some milk in the cafeteria, whether it's a pencil, as we heard earlier, whatever the other child needs, I will help you when you need that. That is a great sentiment. All right, best friends. Who in this room has some best friends that you wouldn't trade for anybody in the world? Those are your besties. She's got it right here. And what does she have up here? She's got heaven in the sky. That's a great sentiment. Thank you, Helen. Great job. Let's give Helen a round of applause. Okay, Ibrahim, you want to talk about yours?
That's
Great. This here with the sky and the sun looking down, everybody's happy because we see the sun. It's not a cloudy day. And your besties are standing there. We love it. How about a hand for our Mr. Beaker Williams, if you come on in.
Their teachers are here.
And our
They do
teachers,
not,
come on
they
up.
do not
Yes.
want to be in the picture.
Absolutely.
Phillips and-
Ms. Williams, come on out.
Can we get the students up front and the adults behind them? That'd be great. Not that close. There you go. Back up a little bit. There you go. Super good job. All right. All right. You ready? Okay, on 3. 1, 2, one more. 1, 2. There you go.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Congratulations to Congratulations to all the students who have been honored so far. Southeast Elementary School, Northwest Elementary School, and Moss Hill. Congratulations to the Kinston High School FBLA for placing in the regional competition and earning spots in state competition to be held in March. The following awards were presented at the regional competition held at Havelock High School. I'm going to ask these students to come forward. First place, Database Design and Application, Amore Kennedy. First place, Computer Applications, Michaela Oles. Second place, Web Banner Design, Zariah Newton and Zionia Jenkins. Third place, T-shirt Spirit Event, Michaela Oles, Jayla Sessoms, and Javier Grady. Third place, Word Processing, Jeffriona Carr, and Recognition, Testing, Acknowledgement, Zaria Newton. Let's give these students a round of applause. Now a good-looking group of students who went away to state competition and won. Okay, Michaela, 2 awards. Michaela? Congratulations, Michaela. Two certificates for you. Kayla? Congratulations, Kayla. Proud of you. Sophiana? Congratulations, Sophiana. Proud of you. Xavier? Sayoni? Zari? Congratulations to you. You guys rock. Amore? Pretty close. Did I get my notation? I did. I tried. All right, so now among this group, now these are leaders. These are future business leaders of American students. Before we ask their teachers to come up and their principal to come up, I want them to share with you what this competition meant to them and how they benefited from it, because our kids are going away, as you heard, web design, public speaking, presentation, marketing, all of the business education skills. So, who would like to share?
And I'm the vice president of FBLA for this chapter. FBLA to me means a stepping stone for my community and for my future purposes.
Outstanding. Who else? Okay.
I'm sorry, and I am the president of the chapter. And FBLA is a student-led organization that prepares us to become leaders within the community as well as the workforce. We compete across the state as well as the region, and it allows us to network students and business professionals across the state. NCFBLA gives students the opportunity to volunteer in various capacities such as the Red Cross Blood Drive, the Veterans Day fundraiser, and the Cancun food drive.
So they're out in their community, they're helping, they're paying it forward, they're not only learning in the classroom, but they're also giving within the community. Let's give them a round of applause. Ms. Bryant and the teachers who are here.
Let's do the same deal. The students stand forward. Come on, right here. Okay, hopefully, 1, 2, one more. 1, 2, 3.
Students from North Lenoir and South Lenoir High Schools and E.B. Frank Middle School have the right stuff. That's right. Congratulations to them for their top 10 finishes in the state finals of the Quill writing competition organized by the North Carolina Association for Scholastic Activities. These teams placed in the top 3 of the Eastern region in order to advance to the state level. Team members were from, and I'll call the schools separately, first E.B. Frink Middle School, and I saw Mr. Becker here, and if we have, I think Ms. West was here. Anyone else from Frink Middle School, if you would come up. So team members are Caitlin Hardison, Savannah Hardison, Caleb Espino, Whitney Bird, Olivia Clements, Shania Blake, Emerson Dunn, Alyssa Hulsberg, with coaches Rachel Wallace and assistant coach John Becker, and also Tarshall Ravenel. If Tarshall and John and the others are here, Mr. Becker, I saw him.
He's there.
He's already up here. Good job. Let's give them a round of applause. Alyssa. Harrison. Olivia. Olivia, probably. Ruby. Great job, Kelly. Proud of you. Savannah. Savannah, congratulations. Proud of you. And Kate. All right. What can you tell the group about this competition? I know Mr. Becker can tell us plenty, but we want to hear it from you, and we can hear it from him too, what this competition meant to you. Going and placing third in the state of North Carolina, or the third in the region. What does that mean to you?
I think it was a good chance for us to students competing. We also won regional, making it state.
Going to state competition, folks, and we know what that means on the football field, but this is what it means in the classroom with composition and writing. We're so proud of these kids. Anybody else like to share?
It was definitely a learning opportunity for what we know, and they gave us feedback on what we can. So I would say it was definitely a very good learning opportunity.
Outstanding. So you think that feedback can go into next year when we repeat this and maybe even go beyond, you think that feedback will help you guys? Okay, outstanding. Because you know Quill goes all the way through high school, so you guys can keep going. So that's great. Mr. Becker, you want to share anything?
It was, I enjoyed it as a judge, looking at the competition for school, students from across the state, and realizing how I can improve as a teacher in teacher writing.
Outstanding. Let's give them a round of applause.
Can we do the same thing, have the students move up some, and adults behind them, so it won't be so loud? There you go. That's great. Okay, hopefully, 1, 2, just feel sorry a little bit. Thank you. 1, 2, beautiful, thank you.
Great job, man. North Lenore High School students David Buck, Ashanti Coleman, Marissa Doyle, Lauren Edwards, and Michelle Taylor, and Coach Michelle Taylor were winners. If they would come forward, please.
No, they're not here.
Okay,
Ms. Green's here.
they were not able
Ms.
to.
Green's here to represent them.
They're working tonight.
Let's give Ms. Green a round of applause. For South Lenore High School students Cody Baggett, Braden Barnett, Campbell Price, and Michael Mazingo, and Coach Greta Hill, if you'd come forward, please. While I'm passing out the certificates, Ms. Hill, would you like to share with them what you think this meant to your students? Mr. Becker shared about their experiences and his experience even getting to judge some of the other competitions. What would you say?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank the students and especially their parents. It was quite a commitment for them to get up early on a Saturday morning and go all the way to Winston-Salem, which is where we competed. So huge thanks to the students and their parents for the dedication and the commitment that they made to the competition. Secondly, these are all sophomores. And so I think it was a really valuable learning experience for them because a lot of the students that they competed against were juniors and seniors.
Absolutely.
And so as sophomores going into the competition, I think it was a really, a valuable opportunity for them to see what they've got coming kind of in the next couple of years. And a lot of those students will also be dual enrollment students. So they'll be taking a lot of those LCC courses as juniors and seniors. And I think that, it really helps prepare for the writing that they're going to have to do for some of those courses too. So
Absolutely.
super proud of them. And I appreciate them participating.
We're proud of you and we're proud of our schools pushing forward with composition competitions. That's a mouthful. Because composition, writing is something you're going to have to do. We talked about lifelong sports. Well, writing is something they'll have to do in almost every single college class. So it's great to see them doing that, practicing their proficiency skills and doing so through the context of competition with other high school students across the state. So that's great. Guys, who among you would like to share your perspectives about it? These guys were out there on Saturday driving across the state to compete. Their parents were going. So it's a pretty big deal. Who would like to share?
I would say it was very challenging having to write about things that we didn't have a clue what we were doing before. When we turned the paper over and we had to sit there and write. Doing different genres, argumentative, stuff like that, teaches you how to write in different ways, not just informative or anything like that.
And how does your perspectives on argumentation change? Because in the world, when people hear argue, they think disagreement, fight. Argumentative tactics are straight up academic endeavors, right? And you learn how to take a point and argue that point with facts, elaboration. That's what you'll have to do in college or beyond. So great.
And this is an on-demand writing, so they have no clue. They might kind of know what genre they're going to be in, if it's going to be argumentative or problem solution or creative writing or literary analysis. They know that, but it's cold. It's on-demand writing, so they don't know their topic, like you said, until they turn that paper over and, it's time to compose their writing. So there's I think, an extra level of stress that kind of goes along with that too.
We appreciate what you're doing with them. Who else would like to share briefly any perspectives?
It's also a great way to exercise our time management skills. Like Braden said, we have no clue what we're going to get into, and the fact we have to do that in under an hour and 30 minutes, I think it's a great way to show our time management skills.
Absolutely, because you'll be forced to do that all the way through high school with standardized testing, college, so great. Let's give them a round of applause.
Okay, I'm ready. One more. Thank you.
Great job.
Good job, guys.
Our teachers continue to use grant competitions to bring additional resources into their classrooms. Not only do they win at an acceptable rate, they win at an exceptional rate. Not only do they write these things, submit the mini grant proposals for additional funding to be used in the classroom. And by the way, 100% of that funding is used for instruction, but they're winning at a very impressive rate. For example, 117 winning Bright Ideas grants announced by Tri-County EMC during an award ceremony on November 6th in Dudley. LCPS teachers won 67 out of 117. Of the $98,162 distributed by Tri-County this year, LCPS teachers collected $55,289. In competition limited to schools within Tri-County service area, which includes only 9 of our schools. All of our schools are eligible to compete in the statewide competition, but the local competition, only 9 of our schools. And still, our schools dominated. 18 are eligible in Wayne County, for instance. Congratulations to the following teachers: Banks Elementary, Mr. Will Sawyer, Deanna Morris, Alyssa Sotero, Bobby Kali, Catherine Huff, Gabriella Ham, Jennifer Jones, the EC team of Twinette Lewis and Keija Darden, the 5th grade team of Kimberly Smith, Danielle Jernigan, Megan O'Neill, and Carol Willis. E.B. Frink Middle School, Marion Holloway, Jonathan Smith, Vicki Newberry, Chadwick Stokes, Nicole Perkins, Caitlin Sadowski Peel, Samantha Hawkins, Danica Sutton, and Ruth Anderson. LaGrange Elementary, Alicia Davis, Jessica Stanley, Catherine Sowers, Davita Sutton, Kelsey Turner, Stephanie Davis, and Crystal Taylor. Lenore County Early College High School, Portia Bell and Dr. Travis Town. Moss Hill Elementary, Christina Jones, Glenda Kennedy, Laura Kali, Catherine Lynch, the kindergarten team of Lindsay Howard, Casey Carlson, Sarah Hughes, and Irish Williams, and the 3rd grade team of Rachel Braswell, Amber Davis, Joey Gray, and Allison Heath. North Lenore High School, Rebecca Hawkins, Molly Feazor, Mara Razi, Sarah Casey, Kayla Lane Varnell, Elizabeth Espino, Harley Smith, Ashley Holland, Catherine Long, and the English instructional team of Naniva Angel, Michelle Taylor, and Kelly Black. Pink Hill Elementary School, Walter Up the Grove, Brianna Taylor, Brenda Griffin, Amy Taylor, Julie Rouse, Katie Beth Hill, Megan Lawson, and Myra Acock. South Lenore High School, Jessica Campbell, Anthony Sumner, Jessica Hill, Melanie Smith, Nicole Fulcher, Ryan Gardner, and Jesse Kennedy. Woodington Middle School, Melody Sally, Brian Potter, Tracy Howard, Jawanda Waters, Monica Johnson, Caroline Sudreth, Robert Houston, and Stephen Lofton. Now, folks, that's a long list of people, but every single teacher on that list wrote a grant, earned that grant for classroom instruction, and earned $55,000 that did not exist at the beginning of this past month for their classroom. And that is outstanding. So let's give them a round of applause. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. I do want to mention that on Wednesday, we do have prize patrol. If any of you are interested in going with us, the members of the Chamber of Commerce and the Education Foundation leadership team will be visiting schools on a surprise visit. The prize patrol, just like Publishers Clearinghouse, and they're taking checks to our schools. So if you're interested in joining the prize patrol at one or more schools, please let Jesse know. It will give you the tentative schedule for that day, but it'll be most of the day on Wednesday. But we're really excited about that. Teachers are excited, and you're funding these grants. Thank you, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Williams? Any comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Williams, for those announcements. Still more examples of all the amazing things happening in Lenore County Public Schools. Ms. Taylor, is anyone signed up for public comment? Thank you, ma'am. We will now move to the presentation portion of the agenda. Chair recognizes Mrs. Frances Herring and Mrs. Melissa Lynch to present a summary of the Apple Distinguished Schools Recognition Celebration.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and board members. I'm pleased to share with you tonight a summary of our recent Apple Distinguished Schools Recognition Ceremony that was held on November 20th, 2023. Apple Distinguished Schools are centers of leadership and educational excellence that demonstrate exceptional vision for learning with technology. In Apple Distinguished Schools, learners are inspired to lead, to learn, and to thrive in our dynamic world. They are empowered to discover possibilities, and they are committed to leaving the world better than they found it. There are 888 Apple Distinguished Schools across 37 countries in the world. Most impressively, there are 16 Apple Distinguished Schools in North Carolina, and 12 of them are in our district. We have so much to celebrate, and celebrate we did. We began our celebration Monday, November 20th, with an awards reception in the lobby of the Kinston-Lenoir County Performing Arts Center. Local, state, and national dignitaries were in attendance, along with LCPS administrators and digital learning specialists and Apple executives. The setting was just beautiful, and it was vibrant, and was a perfect way to begin our celebration. We were pleased to have so many special guests in attendance, and especially pleased to hear remarks from, example, State Senator Jim Perry, who said, quote, "Those who are willing to embrace the concept of innovation, of doing something differently, those are our pioneers. The concept of being willing to embrace change can be difficult, but it is good. It's going to be very impactful for our students. It helps us to achieve new goals." Dr. Bill Ziegler, the worldwide program manager for Apple Distinguished Schools, provided the celebration keynote. He stated, "LCPS recognitions are an amazing accomplishment, a global honor." Ziegler said, "You're one of the few school districts throughout the world that has 12 of your schools recognized as an Apple Distinguished School."
Students from 3 representative schools took the stage and stole the show for our student showcase. They explained some of the ways Apple devices have made their lessons more interesting and learning more fun. Whether the assignment involved using a green screen to create a video about weather forecasting and the impact of hurricanes, which I don't know if you all were able to see this that day, but I love this example of the video of the child who's doing the weather forecast, but you can see above that video the process it took for that. So you have one student spraying the water, one student recording, one student holding the fan. Just the entire environment that was created for that learning is incredible. Or using GarageBand apps to create a song in a Math 1 classroom about the rules of exponents. Or using Apple devices and apps to create a weekly podcast designed to keep students and the community informed about happenings at school. Our students did an incredible job of representing us and of leading and of presenting, and we are very, very proud of them. To conclude the recognition ceremony, we brought all 12 Apple Distinguished Schools to the stage for a photo opportunity and for a chance for the entire audience to cheer and celebrate their success. The celebrations did not end there. School-wide celebrations continued during the afternoon, where all students and staff could take part in the joy of this recognition. Schools showed their school spirit in a variety of ways. At Northwest Elementary School, students and staff members had special Apple Distinguished Schools t-shirts made to show unity and pride for this honor. At Contentnia Savannah K-8 School, students and staff marched in a creation parade, showcasing their favorite apps and creative projects. At Southeast Elementary School, students rotated through creation stations with their iPads and even had an Apple scavenger hunt on the playground. School mascots and students took part in school parades, and in middle schools and high schools, band members and cheerleaders led the way. The school-wide celebrations were a wonderful way to share the excitement with the dedicated staff and students at every school. So what does this mean for Lenoir County Public Schools, and how does this help us move forward with our digital learning journey? This honor will allow us to continue to share, but to also build upon connections that are going to be made statewide and nationwide, with opportunities for us to host visits to showcase the immersive digital learning environments that we have in our schools. Additionally, we will continue with our professional learning partnership with Apple, and we'll continue to benefit from learning opportunities that are exclusive to Apple Distinguished Schools. And ultimately, we're going to continue to push for all 17 schools to be recognized with this honor, because we know that every school in Lenoir County Public Schools is an Apple Distinguished School. As we close the presentation today, I just want to thank everyone who had a part in making this day excellent. It truly took a team, and it was a wonderful, wonderful day. I also want to thank Patrick Holmes for these amazing pictures that he's provided us to remember this wonderful opportunity and to continue to share with everyone. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
No questions. Just a comment.
Sorry.
Before the program actually started, as I had a chance to mingle with some of the Apple representatives that were there, they commented on how they have gone to these celebrations all over the world, and they've never been to one that was set up as great as the one that you all set up. They were complimenting the lobby, they were complimenting the food, the whole reception, and they said it was outstanding. They had never been to any event that was set up like that, that recognized Apple Distinguished School. So my hat is off to you, your team, everybody that had a part to do with that and setting it up. It definitely was outstanding, and it was a great presentation.
Thank you, I
about
appreciate
Apple
that.
Distinguished Schools.
It took a team for sure. A big thank you also to Jesse Taylor, who had a huge part in making it look the way it looked. It was beautiful.
All right, any questions from Mrs. Henry or Mrs. Lynch? Any more comments? Thank you, Mrs. Henry and Mrs. Lynch.
Thank you.
I do have a comment I'd like to make. The journey of one-to-one technology for the Lenore County Public School students and staff began about 10 years ago. A lot of dedicated people have worked tirelessly during this time to accomplish this goal and deserve the credit and recognition of making this a reality. I would like to highlight 3 groups of these individuals that without their vision, persistence, and dedication, this endeavor would not have come to fruition. Thank you to the Lenore County Board of Education, the Lenore County Public School System Superintendent, Administration, and staff, and especially the Lenore County Board of Commissioners for making this venture a possibility and a reality. Thank you. Chair recognizes Mrs. Frances Herring to present a summary of the mid-year school improvement plan presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You will notice, I'm trying to just. You have uploaded in Board Docs the NC Star School Improvement Mid-Year Presentation Schedule. And that's all that I was going to display is what you have uploaded to Board Docs. But we will have our mid-year NC Star School Improvement presentations on 3 separate days. The first is Monday, January 22nd. Those are just in the afternoon from 1 to 4:45. We don't have any on Tuesday. We pick back up on Wednesday. Wednesday is all day, 8:30 to 4:45. We do have some on Thursday. We begin 9:30 to 2:45. So we look forward to any and all of you coming and participating in those presentations. We'd love to have you. We don't anticipate this schedule changing, but if for some reason the principals work with each other and need to make a swap out for some sort of scheduling situation, we'll let you know. But as it stands right now, those are the 3 days that we'll be presenting. And we will be focusing on our CSI and TSI designated schools. We'll focus on the plans to address any low-performing subgroups in each of the schools. And we'll focus on anything in particular or questions that you may have going into these. Just please let me know so that we make sure we cover any questions that you might have. We'll be happy to make sure we include those. But that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mrs. Herring? Any comments? All right, thank you, Mrs. Herring.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Nick Harvey to present an update on the Teachers Memorial upset bid process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to provide an update to the board tonight of the Teachers Memorial upset bid process. Late Thursday afternoon, we received an upset bid in the amount of $300,000. This marks the 14th round of this process. The next round will end on the 18th of December at 4 p.m. The lowest acceptable bid to upset the current amount will be $315,050. We will continue to update the board as this process goes along. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Harvey? Any comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Harvey, for that update. Chair recognizes Mr. Charles White to present 3 proposals for funding through the Federal Schools and Libraries E-Rate program.
Good evening. My name is Charles White, Director of Media and Technology. This past summer, John Holler, our network engineer, and myself identified several key areas within our network infrastructure that needed replacement. These included the highest areas of need due to aging or outdated equipment that will, over time, have a negative impact on our instructional access to the internet and other online resources. Beginning in November, I began the North Carolina Category 2 E-rate mini-bid process. The project includes 3 primary areas. First is the replacement of the network infrastructure for Rochelle Middle School and North Lenoir High School. The second included the replacement of the wireless access points at Rochelle Middle School, Kinston High School, and North Lenoir High School. The last part of the project included the supporting licensing on eligible switching infrastructure. Throughout the month of November, multiple vendors have visited our district in order to evaluate and submit their proposals. In December, a committee was formed to evaluate the bids based upon the publicized rubric. The committee consisted of myself, our 2 network engineers, which is John Holler and Guillermo Trejo, and Danny Newborn, our Tech 3. Tonight, I'm presenting the winning proposals for your review, and in January, I'll be returning to request your permission to apply for the Category 2 federal E-rate funding to cover the primary costs of the projects. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Mr. White? Any comments? All right, thank you, Mr. White.
Thank you.
This is much needed funding for our technology that supports our students and staff. And as Mr. White said, it will come back at a subsequent meeting for board action. Chair recognizes Mrs. Helen Hooker to present the November 2023 financial report.
Thank you and good evening. The November 2023 financial report summarizes budget and year-to-date activity for all Lenoir County Board of Education funds as of November 30th, 2023. Additionally, the report presents the unadjusted local current expense fund balance as of November 30, 2023. If you've had time to review and you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them for you.
Ms. Hooker,
Yes, sir.
look at me because everybody must know I was going to say something. Everybody look down here at me. Looking at the fund balance, I just have a concern about that fund balance. Have we not gotten the insurance reimbursements and stuff yet either?
Not yet.
We've gotten some vehicle reimbursements, but also this month we paid our annual local supplements. And usually at this time of year, it does drop slightly, but also by January, we should see it start to level out.
Okay. I know it usually drops slightly, but that looks a little different.
It looks a little different from last month, but that's mainly due to the supplements. Because we usually pay those in November.
Right.
And then the certified, they get their other half in May.
Right.
So usually in November, it does drop.
So we're still waiting on the insurance from the building, South Lenoir, and that stuff, right?
Yes, we're still waiting on those.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions for Mrs. Hooker?
I had one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson.
Your audit for this year,
Yes, sir.
how's that bidding process going to set up in January? As far as who's going to do the audit?
Say that again, which schools?
As far as what firm?
We don't have a list of firms yet. We'll have to get the information together to send out bids.
Last year, we were told that we were into the process.
But we're year to year now. The board can choose to do that anytime it wishes.
So when will the process open up? When will you announce that it's available?
Oh, you would need to do that right away in January.
That's
Yeah. If you were going to do that in January for them to start the audit and be ready to do it and complete it, because they're completing the audit now for this past year.
I have no problem with the firm we currently have, but it hasn't been a closed process for the last 3 years or so. And at least the opportunity should be there for anybody else who wants to apply. Same thing with legal services.
Do you have somebody in mind?
No. I just think the process should be open.
Okay.
Any more questions for Mrs. Hooker? Any more comments? Thank you, Mrs. Hooker, for your report.
Thank you.
We will now move to the action portion of the agenda. Chair recognizes Mrs. Helen Hooker to present Budget Amendment Number 2 for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
Budget Amendment Number 2 is used to revise the working budget of the Lenoir County Board of Education to reflect changes that have occurred throughout the fiscal year.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Hooker?
Move to adopt the budget amendment.
We got a motion by Mr. Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Cash.
Second, Ms. Cash.
Second, okay, Mrs. Cash. We've got a motion by Mr. Anderson and a second by Mrs. Cash to approve the Budget Amendment Number 2 for the 2023-2024 fiscal year as presented. Is there any discussion? I'm hearing none, Chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0. Mrs. Hooker will incorporate the budget amendments into the financial record. All right, now Chair recognizes Mrs. Melissa Michaud to present a briefing on the process to be used for filling the vacancy created by the resignation of Board Member Keith King.
Thank you. So one of the items attached to the agenda tonight is a memo that outlines the process for filling the board vacancy. Part of the process for filling the vacancy is set forth both in policy as well as the school merger plan. And what that requires is that the board will decide who to fill the vacancy, and you have to select from someone that is of the from the same district, so District 2, and also the merger plan requires that it has to be someone from the same political party, so it would be a Republican candidate, and policy also requires that you can only appoint someone to fill until the next election. So even though Mr. King's seat would not end until November 2026, you would select someone to fill it until November 2024, and then in that November 2024 election, there would be whoever runs in that election and wins would fill the seat through November 2026. So they'd have a short initial term. So that's the process. And what is before you tonight is to decide sort of the timelines and also sort of how to implement. So I think what you've done in the past is posted an advertisement in the paper, set a deadline for candidates, or rather applicants, to submit materials to the board. Then usually I think the board holds interviews. Because it's a board member, those are open session. And you can either decide to have that be an agenda item at your next meeting on January, can't remember, the 8th, I think the 8th, or if you want to have it at a special meeting. And then you can also decide, typically if you're going to, after the interviews, then immediately vote. Usually the process is to use a written ballot to select the nominee, so, the applicant. So again, the questions before you tonight are the timeline for both the interviews. Also, if you want to hold the board vote at that same meeting, and then also if you want to confirm that you want to use a written ballot.
So that's the action that's required.
That's the action, yes. That's pretty much laid out in the memo that Mrs. Murchison had sent to Mr. Williams, and it was included in the board packet. So just to review, Mrs. Michaud, make sure I understand. So what we would do is we would have to advertise for so many days. We'd have a point with people that were interested and would submit an application. Then we would decide on that process to interview the applicants. First of all, they have to be, their information has to be verified, right? That they live in the district, that they are Republican, that they're 21, whatever the requirements are. And then we would have an interview process, and then the board would vote to seat someone from that, or possibly seat someone from that selection process.
Yes, yes. And I think that, again, the proposal, or that was sort of suggested in the memo, would be to hold those interviews, and then also the vote on at the meeting on January 8th.
But now, we can do the interviews on January, we don't necessarily have to vote on January 8th, right?
You don't have to.
Okay.
We need to vote in January. We need to fill this seat.
Well, in the practice in the past, and I've been on the board 20 years, and this is the third time we've done this. What we have done is that we have advertised, we had the candidates come forward, we interviewed, and then we came back and had a special call meeting, and the board voted at the special call meeting. That's been the process in the past, and that way you could actually have a special call meeting in February and seat the person before the February board meeting.
Well, the past is not indicative of the present, so we can have this done and we can vote in January.
We can, and it would be the pleasure of the board to decide, which way we'd like to go.
Okay.
I don't think you'll be able to see anybody prior to the February board meeting, correct, Mrs. Michaud?
Usually, when someone is selected at the meeting, they are not sworn in until the next meeting. To verify that they have met those requirements, also that you have someone available to swear them in.
Okay.
But we can interview and find someone and bring it to the board in January. There's no problem doing that.
Yes.
Again,
You can have the interviews at your January meeting, sure.
Yeah, we'll have the interview, that was part of the recommendation, have the interviews at the January meeting.
Mhm.
Then the board can decide whether they want to, vote that night, or if you want to have a call meeting and vote at the special call meeting, and then have the person sworn in February.
Why can't we have a special called meeting in December and interview candidates and make it official in January?
What is the time?
I don't want to delay the process, is what I'm saying. We need a full board moving forward.
You got that.
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Wouldn't the first thing be to set the deadline on when your applications are gonna be due?
That's what we have, yeah, that's the first thing we have to do.
Yeah. Say, and that would determine when you can act on them, until you get them.
Huh?
So wouldn't the decision for this board to make tonight to be to set a deadline for applications?
We first need to make the motion to approve the process. So I make a motion that we approve the process for filling the board seat.
Is it the process that's set out in?
Outlined by this memo from Ms. Murchison.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to accept now, in that process, and this is the show. Okay, is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, then there's no second, so the motion doesn't go forward as presented. Now, Mrs. Michaud, was there any other questions or any more information that you had to?
I was going to say that Ms. Murchison shared a sample advertisement, and if you were working off of the January 8th meeting date as your interview date, she had suggested a deadline of December 27th for the applications.
And that won't be an issue for central office, for administration. I mean, they'll be on vacation during that time, so we'll be able to handle that date. Okay?
What was that, December?
December 27th.
So we have an application deadline?
Okay, so that's the first point, right? Deadline for the December 27th for the application. The second, we will do the interviews in January at the January 8th meeting. And then, whatever the board desires, we can either do the voting that night, or we can have a special call meeting, do the voting, and then have the person sworn in February. Which that has been the practice in the past.
Mr. Chair, to go back to the interviews, I don't know if the board wants to go ahead and specify the amount of minutes for each candidate, I think if it's gonna be, 5 minutes
Yeah,
for
I think
each.
before when we did the interview process, we allowed them 5 minutes
Okay.
to come to the board and speak. And I think, and in the previous 2 vacancies, we actually had questions for the candidate. They were provided the questions ahead of time, and then they responded to the questions during the night of the interviews.
Okay.
With the announcement state all that.
Yes.
Yes, well, I think that what happened, well, once you, I guess you could either choose to put the questions in the announcement, or once you get the candidates, then you could circulate the 3, questions that they need to answer.
I wasn't referring to the question, I was talking about the December 27th date and January 8th date.
Yes. The advertisement does specify that they'll be expected to interview or present at the January 8th meeting, and the deadline's December 27th.
Dr. Al, excuse me, Dr. Al, I'll start with you. Have a question?
Yes, is 5 minutes adequate enough time for the candidate?
This one now?
Is 5 minutes adequate enough for a candidate to talk about their qualifications of being a board member?
The 5 minutes doesn't include questions, it's their presentation.
Their present, they get to present themselves.
And then you get a chance to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, the board can set whatever time that you like.
I mean, typically, if you're, I've served on search committees, and it takes more than 5 minutes for a candidate to, and even when you put in questions, I just don't think that's reasonable, but go ahead.
So the 5 minutes is just for them to present their part, right?
understand that.
Is that right? That's what I'm asking.
Right.
Is that right?
Some people,
Yeah, 5 minutes would be what they would have to present themselves, their resume. Of the application.
Now, what do we need to put in form of a motion?
Exactly what we want.
Exactly what I said earlier.
You gotta add this to it.
We want to vote. And then I will be January 8th, or last time we did a special call meeting. So ever how your board, whatever the criteria you'd like to have set.
so the deadline is December 27th, is
For
that correct?
applications.
For applications.
Right, and then we would do the interview process January the 8th.
Okay.
Now, the next thing we need to decide is when we'd like to vote.
As quickly as possible.
I went ahead and locked myself in the vote.
Well, after the 8th, it's wide open in January. So is another Monday night work for everyone, or do we need to? Well, that's totally fine, but we need to pick another date for the specially called meeting, unless you want to drag it out and choose that date in January. Okay, well, that's the 15th. Then we can have a special called meeting on the 15th, then we can vote for the replacement for that seat.
We would need to
Okay,
make sure.
16th.
That's Martin Luther King holiday.
Make sure we check everybody, that's the holiday, the 15th is a holiday.
It's Tuesday at work.
So we'd have to check everybody's calendar to make sure they would be, available for a special call meeting, since it's not a standard standing day.
Well, I said the
She said the
15th, but
15th.
apparently that's not gonna work.
No, it's a holiday.
What's the day after?
You can go to 16th.
16th is Tuesday.
You can go to a Tuesday.
So would everybody be good with January the 16th? Okay. So, Mrs. Michaud, would you review what we're gonna have a motion for and what we're gonna vote on?
Yes. There is one item I just want to seek
Okay.
clarification on. Is the board going to provide 3 questions in advance for the candidates to come prepared to speak and address at the meeting?
Nope.
Well, that's what we've done in the past.
This is not the past.
past.
Yeah, but we have a precedent set that the way that we've done things in the past. And one of the things that I think we need to try to do is to be consistent with the way we conduct our business. So if you wait and ask the questions in open session, then you have to allow all the other candidates to sit in the audience, because you can't bar them from coming to a public meeting. So you have to ask all the questions in open session. If you ask the first question of the first person who's called, then that gives an advantage to the other people that are sitting in the room listening. So what we did before, we tried to make it as fair and equitable as possible, was to give the questions to the candidates ahead of time, let them prepare an answer. The questions were asked, and then they gave their answers. If not, you create a situation where one of a couple things, and if I'm incorrect, Mrs. Michelle, let me know. You can't tell anyone they can't come to an open meeting, correct?
That's correct.
So we can't bar the other, if there's 5 candidates, we can't bar the other 4 from sitting here listening to the answer or the questions. So then you have to decide if you want to try to be fair to everybody that's going to be involved. You give them the questions ahead of time and let everybody prepare the questions, and everybody can ask the questions during the interview process.
So are we saying we can't think of different questions for different applicants every time they interview? Is that what we're saying? I mean, I'm just asking. I mean, it's a legitimate question, because I know exactly what you're saying. I get that, but I'm saying, you know, you can also have different questions. I mean, basically, we need to take this serious. Is that, you know, so.
And that would be true, but you know, if you ask one question of one candidate, you should ask that same question of all of them. You should let everybody respond to the same question.
I understand that too, but sometimes when you go on interviews, people have different experience and you ask different questions.
So if I understand it correctly, you have the 3 standardized questions, but then during the process, you can still ask.
Right.
You can still ask. That doesn't bar you from asking more questions.
That's correct too.
Right.
If that's what the board desires to do, yes. You'll have those 3 standard questions, and then if anyone has any additional questions.
Just what's stopping them from just, like you said before, even if we switch it up, listening to the same questions and answering it the way we desire them to answer it. It's the same thing. So I don't really, I'm not understanding.
Okay, that's what we're trying to do here tonight, decide how we want to do it then. So if you want to have the same questions, or if you want to have 3 different questions. But in my opinion, you need to try to be fair and equal to all the candidates. And you may only have 1 candidate, you know, but in the past we've had as many as, last time we had 10 people to apply, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Wood.
I'm going to ask, do we still have the notes from the last time we did it?
It's in the minutes.
Do we have the
minutes? The minutes from the last time we did it?
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
Okay, so let's look at the minutes.
Well, we actually got video, and I actually went back and watched the video today myself on how we did it last time.
So when was that?
2020.
Ma'am?
2020?
Mm-hmm.
In 2018.
2018.
When last time we filled a board vacancy.
Interviews.
2018, sorry.
July, I believe it was started in. Yeah, when Mr. Sergeant resigned, become a judge, and then at that point, that's when Mr. Bogan was appointed.
Correct.
Would you like for me to read the 3 questions from last time?
Well, before you go on, I mean, I've heard some statements. I mean, what are the suggestions?
It sounds like people want to do things the way it's been done to eliminate any kind of confusion, so really, it seems like the suggestions are not being.
What are the suggestions?
I don't think we should allow people to answer the same questions. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Because what sets them apart if they're answering the questions the same way?
So how do you propose that we would to do that in order to make the deadline to have them to get the questions? Or are you saying don't give them questions, just impromptu ask
I don't
them?
think you give people questions because if they're competent, they can answer the questions when they come in. Like if I'm going to an interview, I don't get the questions before I get there. That's like a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
But if that's what we've done in the past, I mean, okay.
And I'm open, that's why I asked.
Right,
I mean,
no, I mean,
nothing's in stone, it's just a
Right,
matter
right.
of the pleasure of the board.
I agree with Dr. Outlaw. Everybody that applies and comes and speaks before the board is going to be different. So why not have an open-ended conversation with each applicant and let them tell why they feel like they should replace Keith, and just have an open dialogue with them. Limit it to an X amount of minutes. Let them have 5 minutes to, tell us why they should be our new board member, and then give us 5 minutes to follow up and open dialogue with questions. That
I don't have a
way,
problem with that.
nobody sits in here and gets an advantage over
There you
anyone
go.
else as far as answering questions. And it gives everyone a equal opportunity to explain themselves and, promote their platform.
100%.
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, you can do it just like you do a round table interview, and everybody gets
that's pretty much what we
to ask
do.
the questions that,
Right.
In that case, a lot of times people have questions already prepared, and then you go to meet and you go around and everybody can ask.
Never gone to a job interview or sat on a search committee where we gave the applicant the questions.
Right.
I'm just saying, I never seen that.
I'm not opposed to it. It's just it's just the pleasure of what the majority wants to do.
Okay, so what have we agreed on so far?
Sure.
She wanna be different, so state what you want,
Right.
and we'll go what you want.
We both want different questions for
Yeah.
applicants. We both do.
So who's gonna prepare the questions? Or
I can write
Nobody prepares the questions. It's an open-ended dialogue.
I can write the questions.
No, there's no set questions.
But
It's
I can write
open-ended
questions.
dialogue. They come in, they have 5 minutes to present themselves, and we have 5 minutes to ask them questions. Open-ended, no set questions.
As long as we make sure we ask what I think relevant questions to the process.
They will be relevant because we will be speaking to them individually. It will be individualized to each person. I mean, nobody's going to sit here and ask them what their favorite color is.
Okay,
They're
Ms.
gonna be
Michelle,
relevant
let's-
questions.
Let's see what we have agreed upon so far, then, so we can move on.
Sure. The application deadline would be December 27th, 2023. The advertisement would also identify that they need to attend the January 8th meeting. I haven't read this, but this was in the advertisement. They would be asked to include their name, address, phone number, affirmation they meet the qualifications for the office that are listed in the ad, and provide the specific reasons they want to be considered for the office, any other information that's relevant. Then interviews would be held, those materials would be provided to board members. Interviews would be held on January 8th. There's been a proposal that there will be 5 minutes for the candidates, or applicants rather, to present, and then there'll be a 5-minute follow-up with Q&A by board members, and then the vote would be held at a called meeting on January 16th.
I do have a question, and maybe you can answer it, or maybe I can just find out on my own. If his term ends, and you said 2026, I thought it was 2025, why would that term end in 2024? Because we're talking about really less than a year.
That's what policy provides.
Okay.
So you're talking about why would it just go through November 2020? That's the law. Actually, the director of the Board of Elections has notified me that what the appointment would be to November of 2024, because it would be the next election, and so that person has to be on the ballot. Then there's a process for nominations for people to be on the ballot. The Board of Election Director actually sent me an email that specified what the law is. Check with the state board in Raleigh.
Okay. Thank you.
So that person would have to run, someone would be running 2024, then it would only be for 2 years, and then in 2026, it would run for a 4-year.
The filing deadline for.
There are
Filing
special
deadline is
provisions,
Friday.
there are special provisions for that in the law of how the nominations are made to put the name on the ballot. According to the Board of Directors, each party in the county would nominate someone from their party to be placed on the ballot in November of next year. That's what the director of the Board of Elections verified from the state board of law.
I think you might want to amend that public announcement to include that.
Well, you can, yeah, we can do that so that, well, I think in the announcement that Carolyn had written, it states in there that that the appointment is through November of 2024, and then there will be you would have to be an election in November 2024 for a 2-year term till November of 2026, and then there would be an election 2026 for a 4-year term.
Yeah.
I think she didn't
It says,
not have that in the.
it says that District 2 is served until the next election of members of the board, specifically November of 2024, at which time the District 2 seat shall be filled by election for the remaining 2 years of the term. In other words, until November 2026. That's what she said. That's the first paragraph.
So are there any more details we need to work out as far as the motion, Mrs. Michaud?
Need to work out the way what was suggested. What's the pleasure of the board on doing that?
No.
Let's just say no preset questions.
That's the pleasure of the board. I'm fine with it.
5 minutes for them to present themselves, and then 5 minutes for questions by board members.
Yes.
Okay.
You make a motion or what?
Is that,
Do you want me to start from the beginning on the motion?
or do you want, okay, yeah, you want Mrs. Michaud, do you want to review that or repeat that or make sure everybody understands what we're talking about, what we agreed on so far?
We just said that. She just said what we agreed on. But go ahead.
Application deadline, December 27th. Interviews will be held at the January 8th meeting. 5 minutes for each applicant to present to the board, followed by a 5-minute follow-up Q&A by board members for each applicant, and then a called meeting on January 16th to vote to fill the vacancy.
Second motion.
Is that your motion, Mrs. Cash?
Cash, yes.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mrs. Cash and a second by Mr. Anderson to adopt the proceedings, the process that's just been outlined by Mrs. Michaud. Everybody understand the motion? Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Michaud. Chair recognizes Mr. Nick Harvey to present the bids for the Pink Hill alternate entrance and parking lot project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, we submit for your approval the selection of a contractor for the Pink Hill Elementary driveway and parking lot project. We had 4 vendors respond to our request for qualification posted by LCPS and REI engineers. We conducted a bid opening here at Central Services where 3 of the 4 vendors were present. Tonight, we are asking the board accept the recommendation from REI and select the Barnhill Contracting Company as the contractor for this project. A contract for services will be brought to the board for a subsequent meeting for approval. So tonight, you're only selecting the contractor.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Harvey? All right, thank you, Mr. Harvey. Is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to the Pink Hill alternate entrance? Motion by Mr. Woods, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Outlaw. We have a motion by Mr. Woods and a second by Dr. Outlaw to approve the selection of Barnhill Contracting Company for the Pink Hill alternate entrance and parking lot project as presented. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, Chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Harvey,
Thank you.
you notify Barnhill Contracting of this action.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Nick Harvey to present a request from Woodington Middle School to name the baseball complex after Perry Lychak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last month, we presented a request from Woodington Middle School to rename its baseball complex after the late coach Perry Lychak. Tonight, we're asking the board's pleasure regarding this request.
Any questions for Mr. Harvey? Okay, thank you, Mr. Harvey. Is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to the Woodington Middle School baseball complex?
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, it's my honor to ask that we approve the naming of the Woodington Middle School baseball complex as requested.
A motion by Mrs. Cash, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey. Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Cash and a second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey to name the Woodington Middle School complex after Coach Perry Lychek as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, the chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Harvey will notify the Woodington Middle School of this action.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Nick Harvey to present surplus items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, for your view and pleasure, I have attached items from the South Lenore High School for your approval to be deemed a surplus. Any proceeds derived from the sale shall be returned to South Lenore High School, and they are attached in your board packet.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Harvey? Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to surplus items?
Move to deem the presented items as surplus.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Woods. Motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Woods to approve the surplus items as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Harvey, please notify South Lenore. We can dispose of those items. Okay, is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move the North County Board of Education into closed session under the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve attorney-client privilege, and to consider matters relating to the initial employment of an individual employee.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey. Motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey to move to closed session. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We are now in closed session. Thank you. Chair recognizes the Lenore County Board of Education is back in open session. I will need to recuse myself as I have an immediate family member on personnel report. Is there a recommendation or a motion pertaining to the monthly personnel recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I move
Yes.
to
Excuse me, Mr. Smith. Yes, sir.
I move to approve the personnel report with the addendum.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey. We have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey to approve the monthly personnel recommendation with the addendum as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Williams will notify the employees of this action. With no further business to come before this board, is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to adjournment?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey. We have a motion by Mr. Anderson and a second by Dr. Outlaw Starkey to adjourn the December 11th, 2023 regular monthly board meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion is stated. Please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Please stay safe.